WMYA My 40 presents Focus on the Palmetto State.
Good morning and welcome to Focus on the Palmetto State. I'm Judy Johnson. A program developed by Clemson University is giving the state's water quality the attention it deserves. Carolina Clear works to inform people about the importance of keeping our water resources clean and warn about stormwater pollution. It addresses the role our water plays in South Carolina's economy, environment, and overall quality of life. Joining us to talk more about Carolina Clear is Natural Resources Agent Teresa Young. Thank you, Teresa, for being here today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
All the way up from Florence to talk to us. Let's start talking about stormwater pollution and exactly what it is.
Sure. I think it's probably easiest for people to realize that stormwater pollution is essentially people pollution. When it rains, that water washes across the landscape and it picks up all the things that we leave behind. Things like cigarette butts, herbicides, pesticides, fertilizers, pet waste, all of those things, and it carries them directly into a body of water untreated.
So it will go down the drain into the sewers and it gets swept away.
Well, that's good that you said sewers, because sewers and stormwater systems are completely separate, and therein lies the problem. A lot of folks think that when the water goes down the storm drain, it's out of sight, out of mind. Surely it gets treated before it is discharged into our local waters, but it's not. Storm drains are conveyance systems that go right out into some creek, river, stream, lake, ocean, untreated.
So Clemson University came up with this program because it is a serious issue.
It is. It's, according to the EPA, the leading threat to water quality.
And that does affect the state in so many different ways, right?
Absolutely, from the state's economy to recreation and the livelihood of our citizens.
Now, what about the water quality issue itself, and as far as the drinking water goes? Does that get affected?
It's not really a drinking water issue, but certainly can be a water quality issue from closure of shellfish beds. So you don't really see that here in the upstate, but we all do live downstream. So the things that people do here will eventually affect those who live along the coast. And excess bacteria in the water from things like not picking up properly after pets can lead to shellfish bed closures, which of course is important to the economy, but then also to the people who enjoy eating those products.
Well, there is more attention being paid to the issue of stormwater pollution, and has been over the past several years. But how bad was it before things started to get better?
Well, water quality originally was regulated through the Clean Water Act for only point source pollution, so things that came straight from the end of a pipe, such as wastewater facilities, industrial discharges. And when that came about, there were actually bodies of water that were setting themselves on fire from the hydrocarbons in the water. Wow. So things are a lot better. We've made great strides, but stormwater was never addressed because stormwater is really a diffuse pollution. It's not from a point source. But what happens is cities, municipalities, counties gather it all up into a conveyance system that essentially makes it a point source. So new regulations have been put into place where communities are required to provide public education and public involvement opportunities to educate citizens about stormwater and to reduce stormwater pollution.
Okay, what can the community do? What can neighborhoods do?
There are lots of simple ways that we can get involved. I think number one is probably to irrigate efficiently. Most lawns thrive on about an inch of water a week, so by using a rain gauge, you can simply look at the gauge. If you've already had an inch in the week, turn those sprinkler systems off. Save yourself some money if you're paying for that municipal water, and reduce the amount of water that's going to run off. If your grass has already had enough, that water's just going to run off the surface, pick up anything that might be in its path, and carry it into our local waterways. In addition to not watering as frequently, we can make sure that our irrigation systems are directed towards the areas we want to water. That seems really simple, but I walk my dogs every morning, and so many times I see sprinkler heads that are watering the sidewalk or watering the roadways. Maybe somebody's run into it with the lawnmower, and that water's really just being wasted. So that can save some people some money and reduce pollution as well.
Because when it hits the sidewalk, then it would wash off all that stuff.
Sure, that's an impervious surface, so the water can't go through it. It's going to run off in whatever direction the slope is, end up in a storm drain or a ditch somewhere, and then into a waterway.
What about the fertilizers and pesticides that so many people use on their lawns?
Glad you brought that up. Fertilizers can add excess nutrients to our waterways. That can result in algal blooms. I know you've probably seen examples of rivers or lakes where you get that nice green covering over the surface. So that can happen
Is that what
from
that is?
too many nutrients, too much nitrogen, too much phosphorus ending up in the water. And I like to say it's like potato chips for the algae. They're like, they can't get enough of it. So they grow like crazy. And then once they've used up all the nutrients and start to die, that decomposition uses up oxygen. And as you probably know, most things require oxygen. So that can lead to fish kills in our waters. But by having your soil tested, you can find out exactly how much and what kind of fertilizer to use, and then you're only using what's necessary. You're saving yourself money because you're not putting out what's not needed, and then you're also limiting the amount that's going to run off and end up in the water, so hopefully preventing some of those algal blooms.
Now, would you work with local or statewide landscaping businesses, you know, the people that come out to fertilize lawns and things like that, to set standards and say this is how it's supposed to be done, or do they pretty much know?
That's hard to say. Good question. I think probably in general homeowners don't necessarily know. You know, they just go to the store and maybe buy a general 10-10-10, that's the nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium ratio, and that might not be what's needed. Our soil varies throughout the state, from the state to the coast, but anyone can take a soil sample, bring it to their local Clemson Extension office where it'll get sent off for $6, and it'll come back and tell you the pH of your soil as well as the variety of nutrients, what levels they're at, and then what kind of fertilizer you should apply and at what rate. We do programs for homeowners, for technical audiences, for landscape companies, even for elected and appointed officials to address all the different things that I've mentioned today about stormwater pollution.
Okay, and are there other things that homeowners can do? I know you had some information there in a newsletter that you sent out about a rain program.
Sure. So
the rain gardens.
Rain gardens. Yeah, there are lots of homeowner solutions to stormwater pollution. One might be a rain garden.
That's interesting. Now, what is that?
A rain garden, we have a rain garden manual that your viewers can download from our website. It's just clemson.edu/Carolina Clear. And a rain garden is just a landscape depression. So it's going to allow water to pool and then to infiltrate, to soak down into the ground instead of running off. And we're going to let nature do its job. Nature is wonderful at cleaning up the environment if we just give it a chance. So some of the pollutants will settle out and be adsorbed by the soil particles, or even be taken up by plants and removed from causing harm to our local waterways. In addition to helping with stormwater pollution, they can provide wildlife habitat for birds and bees and butterflies, and they can be a beautiful addition to our landscape.
Well, we didn't talk about people that just throw stuff in the storm drains, because
hopefully people don't do
like
that.
Leaves, and you know, they get blown in there. Oh, I've seen them in the neighborhoods.
Yes. I feel like I'm the stormwater police, because like I said, when I go around my neighborhood and I see the sprinklers, I also notice the landscapers or homeowners who are blowing the grass clippings into the street, and that's really not good either, because it could cause clogging problems and flooding, and then that's going to result in maintenance that could get passed on to the homeowner if the municipality is incurring a large cost. But in addition, of course, it's adding those nutrients. We might get those algal blooms. And essentially, those grass clippings or leaves really could act as free fertilizer. So if people would just blow them back onto the lawn, if it's grass clippings, now that can't be done if you let your lawn grow out of control. You know, if it's 3 feet tall, then you might actually do some damage by leaving it on the lawn, because the sun can't penetrate through that, and you get the photosynthesis. But in general, if you mow on a regular basis, just blow those clippings back up, and those nutrients are going to decompose and be free fertilizer, so save yourself some money.
Well, and if you're a good homeowner, I guess I'll say, you can be recognized as a Carolina lawn. Is that what the stake is over here that you have?
Can.
That is really neat.
This is part of the Carolina Yards and Neighborhoods program. The program's been around for a long time, but it's designed to assist homeowners in having a beautiful yard that is functional for them, saves time and money, all while protecting our natural resources. And by implementing certain practices, homeowners receive inches of credit. And when you have a yard, or 36 inches, you can submit to have a certified Carolina yard. All of the information comes to me. I'll send out a thank you letter for doing good things to promote our natural resources being protected in South Carolina, send them a certificate, and then they can order things like this yard to let their community know that they care about their yard, but also South Carolina's environment, and are doing things to protect it.
Well, every little bit helps, and everyone
sure
needs
does.
to get involved.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Teresa, for being here today.
Thank you. We really appreciate the opportunity to help homeowners be solutions to stormwater pollutions.
Okay, great. Thank you. I'm going to give out that website one more time. If you want more information, you can go to clemson.edu/Carolina Clear. And when Focus on the Palmetto State returns, our own financial planner, Rick Vandenoord, will answer a question from one of our viewers.